Hi Ailin, I love your Q&A videos. I've already written you an email, but since you said you'll most likely see the questions here, I thought I could repeat one of them. Yeah guys, so if you've sent me questions in my inbox is constantly flooded with emails daily, like at least 20 emails a day. And on top of that, I have the client cases I'm working with, creating these videos, creating articles and posts. It's like a lot to handle, so sometimes I may miss some emails because there's some that take priorities over others. If I'm working with people, those are priority, but I will most likely be able to see your questions if you comment them under this YouTube video. I will definitely see them and will most likely be able to bring it up in videos. Okay, so yeah, here's our question. How long did you eat only fruits, and did you ever have any cheat foods during that time? I find myself somewhat struggling on an all-fruit diet. When did you incorporate more veggies and nuts and seeds back into your diet, and what did you think about raw cacao? Okay, yeah, so I will be honest with you. A lot of the detox specialists out there, they are too strict, okay? I'm not about that. I'm about meeting the person where they are, because I completely understand how something like an adrenal gland weakness, for instance, a person can be so physically fatigued or have cravings, strong cravings for foods, that it's like the only way that they've learned to survive up until this point. It's the way that they've adapted, right? So when you shift a person from a standard American diet, full of stimulants, full of salt, savory foods, caffeines, chocolates, what have you, all that stuff, you shift them to a raw food diet, they can experience extreme fatigue. They can experience extreme cravings. They could want to binge out on food. So instead of doing that strict approach, I say it's always best to give people like some sort of room, some sort of wiggle room, right? Where they can have this one little cheat, every once in a while, just for their mental sanity, just for their, the balance within their body. Because even with detox, you want some balance. Now, there are certain times when you have to be strict. Like if you have like a serious health condition like cancer, or like something that you can't waste any time, then yes, I recommend letting go of everything, absolutely everything, and going 100% fruit, 100% raw, no ifs, ands, or buts. But at the same time, if you are dealing with an issue that is not very pressing, then you can have some wiggle room. So personally, I was healing my fibromyalgia, my chronic fatigue syndrome, endometriosis, depression, anxiety, panic attacks. I had all those things, and more, but those were the main things that I was dealing with. So I was someone that was very fatigued. So I found that my diet in the beginning was 100% raw. I was so desperate to not feel pain in my body anymore and to actually be able to do things again, because I was so fatigued, that I just jumped straight into it 100% raw, right? And so I was feeling amazing. That was like my motivation to keep on going with the diet. So I had very little cheats in the beginning, but after a while I was starting to crave some things. Like after the 2-month or 3-month mark period, I was starting to crave things. So I gave myself like a little bit of wiggle room. Like if I was feeling like I had a craving, right, I would be like, okay, well, let me have some of these kale chips, right? But then it depends on the person, right? Because what I quickly realized was I was trying to cheat on foods that were still raw. I was like, well, they're still raw, I can have them, right? But usually those foods would be what? It would have cashews in it, it would have nuts in it, and I quickly realized my body did not like the way it felt on those foods. So I was like, nope, not worth it, like I would eat like one kale chip with some cashews on it, like a cashew dressing. Then I would get like acne, pimples right away. I would feel my lower back, my mid back, oh my god, a lot of pain, in my kidneys and adrenals, things like that. Or I would get like a sore throat immediately, and I'd have to like spit up that mucus. That's what happens when your body's super clean on the raw, and then you kind of like give in a little with the cheats. But then that's a learning experience. I like it when people experience that, because that even like puts them even stricter in their diet, because then they know it's like, my body's telling me I don't want these foods, I don't need these foods, they're not helping me out at all. And that helps you remain strict on your path to healing. So yeah, that's kind of like where I was. But like my little cheats, like then I realized, you know, maybe I could have like one sheet of a nori sheet, or a really good cheat that I used to do was like just a simple olive, just for the taste of something salty, because I was just eating fruit for fruit all day and my adrenals were so weak that I crave that salt. I see my clients, they are in the same boat. I get so many people that say their one vice is chips. Like they absolutely love potato chips, and in times of stress they turn to those foods, which I say, you know, you can do that, but always go back on the detox train. Don't do it every day, maybe once a week, maybe on the weekend, right? Or maybe you can shift your focus in, you know, really hitting your adrenal glands hard with like an adrenal glandular, for instance. And then maybe going the path of like, instead of eating something processed, maybe you can have something that's like a cooked healthy version of something savory. So like maybe having a vegetable broth, maybe putting some like nice celery or broccoli in there, stuff like that, and seeing if that helps, you know, soothe, calm things down, seeing if that helps with like the comfort levels, because people with, you know, those weaknesses, they want comfort from their foods, right? I find that they want that comfort because they're not getting it from their environment. Maybe they're not, you know, satisfied with their life. But you know, that was a realization I had today, guys, is if you spend a lot of time in nature, or if you spend a lot of time just pouring your passion out into something that you really care about, it's like you no longer crave things, or crave like getting your happiness from eating bad foods, right? So that's something, you know, like that's like an emotional, spiritual level of healing that we're talking about. And detox does allow you to do that. It helps you open up to more of yourself and who you truly are. And it's like a path of self-discovery. So that also helps with that. But let me see. So yeah, so you're struggling a lot. Honestly, it was a back and forth. They asked, when did you incorporate more veggies, nuts, and seeds back into your diet? I never did the nuts. I dropped the nuts like that. No nuts during my detox. Later on, after I healed my conditions, then I was like, okay, you know, I'll have, I can have some peanut butter with some apple slices, right? Or I can have, I can make this Caesar salad dressing out of pine nuts, for instance. But during my detox, I only allowed myself to maybe, you know, indulge sometimes with like a tahini dressing on my salad. I see that tahini tends to be a little better on the kidneys and adrenals rather than nuts. Nuts are nuts, you know. Nuts are just as bad as meat proteins, I always say, because just of the reactions I see people getting from the nuts. And people on the raw gourmet diets, they're never going to heal their health conditions eating nuts every day, or eating gourmet raw foods like raw vegan lasagna, raw vegan pasta with cashews. Nope, not healing at all. You might as well eat meat because it's so bad. Nuts are so bad and so rancid and so incredibly hard for the body to digest. So I always say no nuts at all. So yeah, with the seeds, I did that, you know, like tahini. I did that in my detox. Sometimes, like I said, I did incorporate the veggies whenever I felt like I needed to, but I always went back and forth. I always did like, you know, did a fruit fast for a few weeks or a week or two. And then I would go back to a little more balancing, maybe eating some steamed vegetables at nighttime if I needed it. But it's an intuitive thing. You have to listen to your body when you're on this detox path, and then it's like you'll notice it's like a waxing and waning. That's how, like, your body wants you to heal in a way that, remember when, like we were talking about before, it'll kind of warn you like, no, this food isn't too good. That's what it does to keep you on the detox path. At the same time, if it's like a true healthy craving, then you might as well listen to that, right? If you're craving like, maybe I should have some vegetables right now, I'm kind of craving it, then sometimes you should listen to that, because that's just like the way for the body to balance like those sodium levels since the adrenals are low. I find that very often. When it comes to cacao, the last part of the question, I've never got into raw cacao because I noticed that for people that are very sensitive when it comes to their nerves and their adrenals, oftentimes, or like these people will be sensitive to coffee or alcohol, like they'll tend to be lightweights, they tend to have sensitivities to raw cacao and chocolate. So like when I went on the raw train and when I was detoxing myself, and I experimented with the raw cacao, I find myself to go a little crazy, it made me very anxious in the same way that coffee would make me anxious. So I never got into that. However, I do know that some people, like we said before, you gotta give people some wiggle room with, some sort of like comfort during the detox process in times when they need it. So if for you is raw cacao, then you can do it like once a week, twice a week maybe, but see how your body reacts to it, because you don't want to keep on pushing it if you feel like you're hurting yourself. Okay. I know that there's other alternatives like carob, but even though I did like chocolate, but like it was just that immediate blowback that I hated and it just wasn't worth it. So then I tried to go the carob way, but carob kind of tastes really bitter. It doesn't taste much like chocolate in my personal opinion. So yeah, see what you do with that, but that's my opinion, and that was kind of like what my journey looked like. Everyone's journey will look different though. As always, leave your comments and questions down below. Try to be as detailed as you can so I can kind of piece the puzzle pieces together for you guys. And keep on your detox. And look, guys, do not wait until I get to your question, because I can't get to all of them. And I try to pick questions that are kind of like on a variety of topics to make the videos interesting, to kind of help an array of people for whoever's watching this video, right? To hopefully, awaken them to this true healing path. But if you have a serious health issue, I would recommend please don't wait until I answer your question and just work with me right away, because time is of the essence, and you don't want too much time to go by and your conditions to get worse, trust me, because then it will become harder to heal. You will have to be more strict, and you will experience more unpleasant detox symptoms. So yeah, so if you want to work with me, I'd be happy to help you heal. You can go to www.spirittropicalhealing.com, and you can book any of the services on there on the services tab. So thank you all for joining me today, and until next time, happy healing to all of you. I love you. Bye.